All right. Welcome back, everyone. This is the regular meeting of the City of Philomath City Council. Today is still Monday, September 8th, 2025. The time is currently 7:10 p.m. I'll call this regular meeting to order with my apologies to everyone for our slight delay, as well as anyone watching online. But we will do one more roll call to make sure we're all still here.
Jessica Andrade.
Present.
Diane Crocker.
Here.
Spencer Irwin.
Here.
Marissa Nielsen.
Here.
Richard Salsa.
Present.
Christopher McMorrin.
Present. And Councilor Caseman wasn't able to be here this evening. On the agenda for tonight, we will start with employee recognition. Then we'll have a presentation by Republic Services. We'll then have a proclamation for our age-friendly community, followed by public comment. We'll then have our consent agenda. Under new business, we have an appointment to the Park Advisory Board, as well as deciding on our League of Oregon Cities business meeting voting delegate, and then voting on an intergovernmental agreement with the City of Corvallis for cleaning the library. Important things. And then we'll have an unfinished business from last meeting, just finalizing the so-called compensation packages. And then we'll finish with our reports and correspondence and everything like that. So on that note, we get to start with something fun, which is we have Julie Nunez, is one of our city employees who is celebrating 10 years of service with the city. Julie joined the city in 2015 as a utility billing and cash receipts clerk and has since grown into her current role as an accounting specialist. Over the past decade, she has contributed greatly to the finance department, providing excellent customer service, supporting audits, managing payroll and accounts payable, and navigating complex reporting systems with accuracy and care. And beyond her technical skills, Julie is a true team player who is always ready to help, solve problems, and improve processes. Her work reflects both her commitment to the city and her important role in maintaining our financial stability and transparency. On behalf of the City of Philomath and our City Council, we thank Julie for her dedication and service. And because she has a life, she did not want to be here at 7 p.m. She's already in this role all day. So she is, I think, at her kids' sports games. I don't know what sports they are, but
two kids in sports and the boosters.
Yes. So we thought in recognition of her exemplary service, we would excuse her from the meeting. I wanted to make sure she was recognized. And I'll just say, Julie's wonderful. Every time you come into City Hall, she's a great greeting face and presence, and we're very lucky to have her on Team Philomath.
I would just like to add, I was in the office and someone came in and she is bilingual and was able to translate and speak, and I just was very, very impressed with her professionalism and her ability to help everybody. Yeah.
Wonderful. I don't know if our admin staff have anything they'd like to add about Julie since.
Yeah, so Mike left. She reports directly to Mike, finance director. Obviously, she was here before Mike even got here. So yeah, I'll just say she's been, kind of like you said, great asset, great team player. When we hire employees for the city, we truly do kind of hire to retire. We like to hire people that are going to be around a long, long time, even to retirement. We don't want to hire somebody and take a chance on them for a couple of years and hope they pan out. And Julie was one of those that came over with great referrals, great work ethic already. And she's one that I do hope we keep until she's ready to retire someday. So she's been here 10 years. We hope we get another 20 plus years out of her. So she's been great.
Perfect. Thank you so much. And I'll look at the camera. Thank you, Julie. Thank you. All right. And then with that, something equally as fun, Republic Services. So you just want to introduce yourselves and then we'll hear your presentation.
Yeah, so first of all, thank you for having us today. I'm Brett Davis. I'm the general manager for Republic Services in Western Oregon. That just really means that I have a whole lot of people that report to me and I don't have any power to do anything, right? So this is Paul Koster. Paul is our environmental manager. He's been with the company, about 3.5 years. Yeah. about 3.5 years. He came from California, where he was managing the landfill down there recently. I've been with the company since 2017. So we want to talk about why we're here today. So this kind of started from Julie Jackson. I don't know if most of you know Julie. Julie's our municipal manager in Western Oregon, and she's been with the company for just over 20 years. And she's been a big part of trying to help us get Coffin Butte landfill expansion. And so in her talking with some of the local communities, she's finding out that a lot of people maybe don't know what's going on behind the scenes. They don't know some of the questions that are being asked. And I think in some of our own questioning, we're finding out that a lot of people think that this is just a Corvallis deal, or this is just a Benton County deal. And so we're here to try to share information with you guys to say it's not just a Corvallis deal or Benton County deal. It's every city and every person in Benton County's opportunity to have their voice heard. I'll tell you a little bit about me because I think it's important that I'm not just here representing Republic Services. I was born in Corvallis. I went to Alsea High School. I graduated from Alsea High School. My parents both graduated from Philomath High School. So I'm a local guy. I've been going to the landfill for as long as I can remember as a little kid, going up there with my dad, dropping stuff off. And I think it's a huge asset to the community, not only financially for Benton County, but for the residents. And so that's something that we want to talk about today, just to make sure that you guys are aware of the things that we've been going through over the last 4 years. And hopefully you'll be able to talk to some of your constituents about the challenges that we're having. And if they want to support it, we'd love to have that. We've started a coalition because we've heard from a lot of our customers, elected officials, people in the business that they don't feel like their voices are being heard. And so that's why we're here tonight. So we've got a pretty big slide deck, but out of respect for time, we're not going to go over every single word, but we're going to try to hit the high points. So first slide is just, are you going to come over and let me run it? All right. Scroller. Okay.
Here, I'm gonna fix that for you first.
Oh. Yeah. Good, because I'm technologically challenged.
They did some update to this that made it even better, so. I'm trying to move this to the side.
Perfect.
Okay, there you go.
All right, thank you.
You're welcome.
All right, so I'll start out by saying that our expansion efforts have been a 4-year process. Started back in 2021, where there was a denial by the county to expand. And you'll get to see a little bit later on some of these slides that since that time, we've made some significant changes to the expansion request. And we feel that those changes were made significantly by listening to the community and some of the concerns of the people that live out in the area. But this is just kind of a summary of Republic Services in whole. For me, the important things here, you guys don't care about how many customers we have across the country, but to me, the things that are important are, how I'd say environmentally responsible the company is. So we've got 79 renewable energy projects going on. We've got 80 electric vehicles across the country, and those are growing as we speak. 15% emission reduction since 2017, and 20% of our fleet is powered by RNG. And specifically in Corvallis, we have compressed natural gas trucks, and I think about 90% of the Corvallis fleet, which services all of Benton County, is all from compressed natural gas. So then you talk over on the right, again, some things that I think that are important from an environmental standpoint is how circular we've tried to become. 6.4 million tons of recyclable material managed, we have 25 organics facilities. One of them here in out by Coffin Butte, which is Pacific Region Compost, where we take in over 140,000 tons of compost waste a year and turn that into reusable compost. We have 75 recycling centers and a brand new one that we just purchased in Salem that we'll talk about in a little bit. And then 2.2 billion pounds of organics recycled a year by Republic Services. So those are the things that we do to try to be circular in the company. Again, a lot of things you guys probably don't care a whole lot about here as far as like awards or things that we've gotten, but some of the things that I'm really proud of is the two on the left, which is a great place to work. I've worked for many big companies in my career, and I genuinely believe that Republic Services is a great place to work, and we were certified again in 25 and 26 as a great place to work. Another one is talking about world's most ethical companies. We talk every day about we're going to do things the right way, and we're going to go home every day and make sure that we made the right decisions, not only for the company, but for our employees. The Fortune Most Innovative, probably one of the biggest things I think we're proud of recently is that we've opened up a polymer center in Las Vegas. And what that does is it takes a clear plastic, mixed plastics, and it grinds them up and it resells those plastics out into the market. And so the recycle center that we've purchased in Salem that sorts material, we're actually sending material from here down to Las Vegas to be recycled in our polymer center. And we're starting another polymer center, I think in Indianapolis, or on the East Coast here in the coming year. So just kind of some high points there. The next slide is one that I think that's important to Benton County. I think it's important to me, as I know a lot of people that live in the Philomath, Corvallis, Alsea area. But just in Western Oregon alone, which our employees in Benton County is 116 employees. That's the Corvallis hauling division, the landfill, and the compost facility. And those are all family wage jobs. From the landfill itself, we pull the gas off the landfill, and we're powering about 4,500 homes with the gas from that facility. And we're working with PNGC, who has a long-term contract on that to continue to pull and actually expand that facility, either with additional electric engines to utilize more of the gas, or to pull that gas off and put it into an RNG system where the gas gets put directly into the system and it gets purchased by large customers out on the pipeline. So those are kind of some highlights. We'll skip to kind of some compliance and regulation stuff, and I'll let Paul take it from there.
Thanks, Brett. As Brett introduced me, my name is Paul Coster. I'm the environmental manager for the landfill, but also 20 sites for Republic for the state of Oregon. I've been here for about 9 months with the company for about 3.5 years at landfills, and I've been in environmental services for about 15 years. I have a bachelor's of geology and a master's in environmental science. So I've been doing this for a little while, and I just want to kind of go over some of the things that we do from regulatory compliance. And I was asked to come here, and the landfill is to kind of really, one of my main goals was to assess and look at our policies and what we're doing to kind of maybe fine tune them and bring us to where we need to be and improve what we're doing. I mean, we're doing everything right, but can we do things better? And that's what one of my jobs is, to really improve and to take a look at new technologies and try to get us above and beyond what we're currently doing. And three of the things I want to talk about is the methane gas collection, which is there on everybody's mind, as I'm sure you're aware of, landfill liners and leachate management, and groundwater monitoring. So I'll kind of touch some highlights on all three of these topics here. In the last 5 years, we've invested almost $9.5 million in the gas infrastructure. We've installed 78 wells. Typically, we're about three times the amount of wells required by the national standards. So we go above and beyond what we install for a gas collection system. We also do not wait. We can wait 5 years to put in gas systems, but we don't. As soon as we move out of an area, we're already installing gas wells to collect that gas to put to either to the power plant or to the flare, so we don't off gas in the landfill. As Brett said, we have PNGC, who also is looking to increase their production and processing of gas. We recently upgraded to an enclosed flare to take up more of the gas that the plant cannot use as the energy to produce power to homes. And from two open flares sources that I'm sure you might have seen driving on 99, but we installed a new flare, enclosed flare with a second one in 2 years. We're planning to add another flare with the anticipation of more gas collection, so we'll definitely do that flare. One of the things that that's been talked about is wet landfills landfills in wet climates versus dry climates. And everybody wants landfills in dry climates, but that's not realistic, because what are you going to do with all the states? Florida, the East Coast, Midwest. You just can't put a landfill. They are where they are. Dry landfills produce as much gas and leachate as a wet landfill. It just takes longer to do it. So the idea of not having it here and keeping jobs for the community and servicing the local community instead of hauling it 300 miles away is more feasible, I think, and should be really considered to stay in this area for as long as we can at the site we are. One of the other things that we talk about with landfill gas is surface emissions monitoring. This is something we do quarterly to make sure we are in compliance with federal EPA and state regulations about surface emissions, and we walk the whole landfill quarterly. We do this, and if there's a hit, we repair it. We have requirements that we follow we have 10 days or 20 days to fix all these things, all these leaks that are coming out of the landfill. And one of the things that people talk about is the plastic on the landfill. It is not to keep the gas in, it's not a liner that we put trash on, it's to keep rainwater from going in and creating leachate. And I'll get to that in a second, but is it a secondary benefit? Yeah, but it's mostly there for rain. It's not for the gas, so that it's not what people are saying it is to keep the gas in. It doesn't work that way. Let's see what else. So that's just basically for gas. We want to talk about next about the leachate and the liner system. There's conversations. Oh, thank you.
Are you still on this slide?
No, I'm
Okay.
a couple, sorry. Next one.
Okay.
Yeah, so we're at the liner. Sorry, I get to talking, I forgot. A little nervous here, so as you can see on the slide, the drawing on the left is basically what the EPA requires as a basic liner system. What you see on the right and what you have here visually in the room is what we do at the landfill. We do a dual liner system, and we have 2 leachate collection areas, and the liner is specifically designed not to allow leachate to go outside the landfill. Okay, there are detection systems. We have groundwater wells that we have 38 groundwater wells that surround the landfill, and that water, we test it semi-annual, and we test for over 60 volatile organic compounds, and that water meets all safe drinking water standards. You can pull that water up and basically drink it. It meets that quality, a level of quality. And so when you look at, this visually, you can kind of get an idea how much material goes between the trash on top of 12 inches operations layer down to the subgrade. It is a lot of material that we put on, and it's double basically what the EPA requires for our liner systems in the state of Oregon. And to ensure regulatory compliance, we were inspected 7 times in 2024 by state, local, and federal agencies. As I stated, we have 35 groundwater monitoring wells. Anytime we want to put a well in, we have to have a development plan and approved by DEQ. And as I stated, we test all these wells semi-annually for over 60 volatile organic compounds, and we meet all drinking water standards. These just a little bit list on the right of the permits that we basically are, ruled by, as it were, to follow, whether they're EPA or EPA, federal, state, or county regulations. Next. Okay, and I think that is basically it for my little presentation. So back to you.
Yeah. So, Coffin Butte, it's not just an economic asset for the county. We believe it's a huge asset for the residents as well. Benton County residents get a reduced rate for disposal. And so, anybody outside the county pays a higher rate. But this slide kind of shows how much of an economic impact it has on Benton County and what's going to happen if that goes away. So you can look on the bottom left and you can see that the host fees that we pay the county over the years, and those host fees are the second largest discretionary revenue for Benton County. So it's not small change. So again, it's those funds can be used for anything that the county sees fit. There's been a lot of questions during the whole process that we're taking trash from outside the state and from all over, all over Oregon, and that's just not true. Coffin Butte is a regional landfill, and it was, designated that back in the 1970s. And one of the reasons that trash doesn't come from all over Oregon to Coffin Butte is because there has to be an economic value to it, right? There's a landfill in Lane County, there's a landfill down in Southern Oregon, in outside of Grants Pass, there's a landfill in Deschutes County, there's several landfills in Portland, and then up the gorge. And so people aren't going to just bring trash from Eastern Oregon here. It's wherever it's more economically feasible. But that's one thing that you're going to hear a lot about is people say, well, if we could just shut down everybody bringing in trash from all the other counties, the landfill would last forever. Well, that's just not feasible when we're servicing Lincoln County, Lynn County, Marion County, Polk County. And that's really the big part of where the trash comes from. Yeah, we do take trash from some of those other counties, but it's a very small amount compared to Lincoln, Benton, Polk, Marion, and Lynn counties. This slide talks about some of the highlights of the 25 expansion effort. I think the reason this is important to us is because in 2021, the expansion was denied by the Benton County Planning Commission. And there was a group started as we started to prepare to ask for expansion again in 24. And a lot of the changes that were made in the 25 expansion efforts were due to, I don't know if you guys have all heard this Benton County Talks Trash, where a lot of the community got to be involved and talk about what was important to them. And so if you go down this list, it lists all of the key things that we feel that were important that we listened to during the expansion process of 2021 and what we changed this year. So 50% smaller expansion. The initial expansion was looking for a 12-year expansion and actually closing Coffin Butte Road. And that was one of the big hangups from the community, was that they didn't want that road closed. So we cut it back to a 6-year expansion, leaving that road open. In addition, we've proposed all kinds of improvements to Coffin Butte Road, widening it, actually putting it in a bike lane. We've committed to increased transparency with communication to the county for community responsiveness. We've agreed and proposed a lot of vegetation screening along Highway 99 so that you can't see the landfill from passing by. And in addition to that, one of the complaints was that we don't do final closure. And if you don't know what that means, it means when you drive by on Highway 99, you look to the left and you'll see kind of all the plastic there. Well, final closure is when we say we're done adding material to that area, and we come in and we put in 3 feet of topsoil, and we'll put vegetation on there to make it look like a natural area. And so we're proposing taking steps to doing final closure on more of the landfill so that you can't see the plastic and it's more of a natural view from the highway. We've committed to containment of the landfill's working face. Basically, there's been concerns about fire and some other things. And back in 1999, you'll hear some of the proponents talk about there being a fire concern. Was before Republic Services owned it, the working face, which is where the trash is put, was really large. and it wasn't managed well, and so there was a fire that burned for several days. Now we keep the working face down to like an acre or an acre and a half, and we put soil on it every night to make sure that nothing's exposed, or we have alternate daily cover, which is tarps. And so we try to keep it small to make sure that there's less of a hazard. And then just continuous, reliable, affordable disposal capacity while the county aligns. You know, we think it's important. We know that the county is working with other counties right now to put together like a solid material management plan. You know, we know that they're talking with Lynn County, Polk County, and Marion County, and we believe that the expansion will give those counties time to actually put together a solid plan for the future. So why is this important to Philomath and Benton County? You know, community partnership, you know, Republic Services contributes, you know, hundreds of thousands of dollars of services a year for events in Corvallis, Philomath, you name it, you know, and it could be cash services, it could be in kind, and in kind to us is when we donate trash services. So if you have an event like the Philomath Frolic and Rodeo, we might donate all the trash services. Hey, we'll drop off the dumpsters, we'll pick them up. Jobs, local economy, like I said, there's 116 people that work in the businesses in Benton County. Environmentally responsible, as Paul talked about, we believe that we're a very responsible, environmentally friendly landfill. Yes, there's opportunities to move the material to the east if that's what you wanted to do, and you'll hear a lot of people say that. I don't want it in my backyard. They want it in somebody else's backyard. And we talk about keeping it local so that we can have control over it, so that you as a city can have some say and control over your disposal costs versus shipping it clear to Eastern Oregon. And then the direct, you know, what are some of the direct benefits? Again, we talked about Coffin Butte being the second largest of discretionary revenue to Benton County. So there's opportunities there from a revenue standpoint to get some revenue benefits. I'm a little bit behind, sorry about that. And then finally, you know, we'll just talk about some key facts. You know, we talked a little bit ago about how as we were going out and talking to people in the community, we recognized that maybe we weren't doing enough on our part to get the word out. And a lot of people asked us to step up and provide more information. And Paul and I aren't the experts in public relations, I'll tell you that. And so we have, you know, hired a group to help us, and we have started a coalition. And as part of that coalition, we've done some of our own surveying, and we found that a large percentage, about 60% of the voters agree that the landfill is an asset, and for three key reasons. You know, they talked about renewable energy, keeping costs low for families and businesses, and also just having a community investment, that it's an asset to the community. So, you know, if the landfill doesn't get approved, you know, if we don't get an expansion, then you're looking at, you know, either trucking or training that material hundreds of miles away, and it just seems like the carbon footprint, you know, is going the other way. If we're talking about trying to reduce carbon footprint, trying to lower the waste stream, to have more trucks and more diesel use from trains and trucks on the road isn't really the direction that we want to go. So again, you know, we're just here today to try to give you some information, because we're hearing that a lot of people in the community aren't hearing what we feel are the facts. And so, you know, we are looking for support and your support, as, you know, coming up here in the next month or two, the Benton County commissioners are going to have to make a decision on what direction they go. And, you know, we believe that we've put together a good plan that was recommended by the Benton County staff with support of third-party consultants and engineers. And we'd really like the support. So with that, we want to respect your guys' time, and we'll, you know, open it up to any questions that you guys might have for us, and we'll go from there.
Well, thank you very much. Thanks for being here. Okay. Councilor Andrade, didn't even finish the question.
Do I understand correctly that if the expansion does not happen, then it sounded like you were saying that our trash will definitely be shipped away. Is that?
That is true.
So it wouldn't just, because you would still be accepting trash from other regions though? Or I guess I don't quite understand.
So currently how it works is, based on the current annual volume that we bring in, there's probably 10 or 11 years of life left at the landfill. One misconception is that if we don't get an expansion, if we do get an expansion, so one misconception is that if we do get an expansion, that there's a cap that goes away. So we understand that that's a concern, but the reality is that because what we talked about earlier of us being a regional landfill, it's not economically feasible for people that are outside of the region to all of a sudden just start bringing us trash. So we believe that we already have the market or the volume that's going to be coming. So back to your question. So yeah, there's about 10 or 11 years left at the landfill. And if we don't get an expansion, then basically at the end of that time, the landfill will close and City of Philomath and works with the county, with the state, with us, we'll have to figure out what that looks like, whether that's a transfer station where we are trucking the trash to Wasco County landfill up the gorge, or whether we're putting it on a train somewhere. But yeah, we won't be accepting trash at Coffin Butte once it's closed if we don't get an expansion.
I can add to that, the goal, not only for the expansion, but no one's really planning for it. If we have no expansion, it does not give Philomath, Corvallis, or Salem, or anybody to start making plans. And we need that 10 years, that 10 years to open, if we get that expansion, it takes years to do that expansion work. We have to get permits, we have to do all this other stuff. We just can't say, well, why can't you do a little later? There is no little later to work on the expansion. It takes 3 to 4 years just to develop that little plot of land. And none of the cities local around, and you probably know more than I do, no one's developed a what-if plan if the landfill closes. And this allows cities and everybody to develop the plan to, once the landfill closes, whether it's 10 years or 16 years with this expansion, or even longer if we reduce, waste streams, you still have to have time to make a plan what's going to happen. And right now, that's kind of the goal of the expansion, not only to keep that landfill locally, but to allow cities and everybody to come up with a plan to look at the future and say, okay, what's going to happen 15 or 20 years from now when it does finally close? A little more time.
Thank you. Councilor Crocker?
Did I see in one of the slides, without the expansion, you've got an 11-month?
11 year,
Okay,
11 years.
I thought it was an 11-month capacity. Oh, my word. And then, can you give us an idea of the cost of the change in our garbage bill if it were to close and we had to ship it?
They told us to be ready for that question. So I don't have that answer, but we can try to get back to you on that. Because I don't know that exact answer. There's a lot of variables there.
Sure.
Depending on whether it's trucked, whether it's trained, where it goes, how far it goes. And so there's a lot of variables there that I don't know that I can give you a great answer. But I can tell you it's not going to be what it is today from going 8 miles north of Corvallis. We kind of talked about a comparison. So I don't know if this is a great comparison, but let's say it has to go clear to Eastern Oregon. So our leachate, for example, that we haul to the city of Corvallis currently and the city of Salem, it costs us about $11 cents a gallon to haul it and for them to take it. And if we have to haul that leachate to, say, Idaho, it goes up to like 91 cents a gallon. So, I know that we wouldn't be hauling trash quite that far, but that kind of gives you an idea that there's a lot of costs involved in transportation. We all know what fuel prices are doing. We all know what labor is doing. So,
It would be a significant increase.
yeah, it would be a significant, but I'll try to see if we can come up with a number.
Counselor Nielsen?
You mentioned that this newest proposal for expansion is much smaller than the previous one. Is it adequate for what the needs are, or does that mean there'll be another expansion secondary that will come in a few years after that?
It's a great question as well. I can't speak for what the company as a whole has for a plan, because I don't know that. I know that we really just tried to say, okay, what's important to the community? What are some of the big factors that are causing concern? And it was closing the road. It was some other things like that, as far as like visibility of the landfill from the highway, safety on Coffin Butte Road, because we got a lot of feedback that people walk up and down the road or bike on the road. And so it was really about trying to dial back the size of it and try to leave as much status quo with the road. So I don't know the company's perspective. I can tell you that how many acres do we own?
We own 1,000 acres, but where we are asking for the expansion, that is the only location that is currently permitted as a landfill. So what the current area is within the quarry that's already been permitted back in 97, that we're currently building and working in and filling in, the only other location is across the street in that little parcel that's going to give us 6 years. That is it. That is all that's permitted for landfill.
And so any other expansion would have to go through the same process. So like if we wanted to do something larger, it would have to go through the whole county process, a conditional use permit, and be approved. So it's not like we can just go in and say, we're gonna do this. We'd have to go ask permission again and go through the whole process all again. So I don't know what the company's appetite for that's gonna be.
Right.
And I'll be honest, I hope within that time I'm retired. But I can't say.
But how many years will this give us, this expansion?
An additional 6, so that would give us about, 16 to 17 years of life from today,
Based on current.
based on current volumes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what I know. Thank you.
Any other questions?
Just a comment, I'm impressed that you listened to the concerns of the citizens and made adjustments. I think that's a good thing.
And one of the things, just to talk on that a little bit, is we work really hard and along with the city's staff, because they had recommended the denial. I'm sure everybody's public knowledge, and we worked really hard with them to get in line with their information where they did approve us, and they recommended approval like they did the first time, but yeah.
Thank you.
I had one follow-up to the question about what the rate change might be. Would you be able to also follow up with sort of what our current rates are compared to other jurisdictions? Like how much of a discount we currently have?
Like compared to like people outside of
Benton County.
outside of Benton County?
Yeah.
Okay, I'll work with Julie on that.
Okay.
And then also if we could get the slides, because there was a lot on there at once and trying to read and pay attention.
Yeah, sorry, I believe
Okay.
we gave.
That's all. Okay, awesome. Thank you.
Was that your only?
Yeah.
Okay. Yes.
I'll just add, I know Julie Jackson's going to be here next month to present. She's going to be here tonight. She'll be here next month. Mostly talking about 2026 rate increases that'll be coming down. That's within our franchise agreement for annual increases based on tipping fees and other kind of just ongoing annual expenses. So if we're quick enough, she may be able to pull some of this comparison data and bring
Yeah.
that with her next month. But if not, she can work on that. So if there's other things like that tonight we can give them feedback, then Julie can come prepared next month for that as well.
Any other questions? Okay, well, thank you. Next up, Resolution 2523, proclaiming an age-friendly community, which is on page 3 of your packet. And I'll just give a brief overview. This is something we've passed in the past, but the inclusivity committee adjusted it a little bit, and Councilor Crocker can probably chime in a little more on this, but in the past, was originally sort of our signal that we wanted to join a more sort of formal network through AARP. But as that process moved along, Jane Sherwood in particular, a member of the inclusivity committee, who's been kind of spearheading this along with Councilor Crocker and others, it became clear that we could probably get some of the benefits of being part of that network without some of the formal requirements of being part of that network. So this is just a change to the proclamation so that we're not tying ourselves directly to the AARP network, but we're still affirming the same goals that we want to be age-friendly, and we can do that ourselves without necessarily needing to be in a formal network. So nothing's changing about our intent, just maybe how we go about that.
The AARP program made it be a 5-year program, phasing in, and we thought, why should we have to wait 5 years to make a difference? So,
Yep. Did you have anything else you wanted to context-wise, or anyone else on the inclusivity committee want to chime in?
Yeah, I think it's just gives us better flexibility.
Yeah. Okay. Anyone want to make a motion? Okay, I move. Okay.
I approve resolution 25-23, a resolution proclaiming age-friendly.
Second. Okay, it's been moved by Councilor Andrade, seconded by Councilor Salsa to approve resolution 2523, a resolution proclaiming age-friendly community. Is there any discussion on that motion? Okay, then would all those in favor raise your hand and say aye?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, so that motion passes 6-0. And Councilor Andrade pointed out to me, I forgot to have us read the last proclamation. So, Councilor Crocker, would you like to read this for us?
absolutely. A resolution proclaiming age-friendly community. Whereas the city of Philomath desires to create an age-friendly community that is safe, healthy, accessible, and prosperous for all residents. And whereas, as of 2025, Nielsberg research data shows Philomath, Oregon having 10.22% of our population being under the age of 15. 32.56 are 15 to 29, and 40.94 are 30 to 64 years of age. 16.28% of our community are citizens over the age of 65. Whereas the health and safety of Philomath citizens of all ages is important to our community's well-being, and whereas as our general population changes, we must be able to adapt to those changes. And whereas decisions based on land use, housing, and transportation should be cohesive and responsive to the needs of our community members. And whereas community support for this work includes volunteers from our city departments, health and community services, social networks, and community members. Now, therefore, be it resolved that Philomath, Oregon will commit to promoting the health, safety, and sustained economic growth of its citizens and strives to create and maintain an age-friendly community.
Fabulous. Thank you very much. And I'll just close by saying a huge thanks to Councilor Crocker and Jane on the community committee. Who are really not, sometimes there are critiques that we pass proclamations and they don't lead to a lot, but Councilor Crocker and Jane have been doing a series of senior community meetings to provide resources for seniors, to bring people together, and those have been gaining a lot of momentum, including one right here tomorrow at 10 a.m. Is that right?
At the library.
Excuse me,
At
don't
the
come
library
here.
at
At the
10 a.m.
library at 10 a.m. So if anyone's interested in that.
City leader, and next month we're doing Medicare,
Yeah.
so it's all good.
So my gratitude for helping us put these words into action. Wonderful. And now, the real attraction of the evening, we have public comments. Sorry, I'm doing great tonight. Okay. We're going to start, I think, with Kiko Denzer, just since it's more related to the presentation we just had. If you'd like to come up. And I'm going to just read my little obligatory statement here. So comments are limited to 3 minutes. The council president will keep time and we'll try to give you a warning if you're getting up on your time. Speakers should provide their name and city of residence. Those who attend public meetings are required to adhere to the council's rules of proceedings and observe the same standards of decorum as members of the council. Further, at the discretion of the presiding officer, members of the public who fail to observe these rules of procedure will be asked to discontinue speaking and will not be allowed to speak again for the remainder of the meeting. I promise I read this for everyone, not just you. So with that, are you ready? Okay, then whenever you're ready.
All right, my name is Kiko Denzer. I live up on 9th Street, just on the other side of the actual city border. But I go to the library and my kids went to school here. And this is sort of coincidental because I sent all of the counselors a letter that I sent to the county opposing the expansion of Coffin Butte, and then Chris kindly notified me of the meeting. So it looked like about 45 minutes you gave for public services. And I'm not here as an expert, I'm here as a concerned citizen. But there are a lot of experts who have been spending a lot of time examining the expansion request. And I would just like to point out that there were, I don't know how many hundreds, if not thousands of pages of testimony that came to the Planning Commission. And the Planning Commission unanimously rejected the proposal from Coffin Butte. All of the items that these two fine fellows brought up were addressed in that meeting. They've appealed the decision, right? Because they want to expand. So, and I will also say, I mean, I'm not the guy to go through their presentation point by point, but I will tell you that as a concerned citizen, I'm extremely confused because what I'm hearing from people in opposition, who again, some of them are hydrologists, some of them are public servants with years of experience, some super smart people who are really digging into this are basically saying this is a really, really bad idea. One of the things that that I've learned in following the information is that the county has been trying to close Coffin Butte for years and years and years, and it hasn't happened yet. I'd also point out that 7% of the trash going to Coffin Butte is from Benton County. The rest of it is from other counties in Oregon. The cap is real, and if they get the approval.
30 seconds. I'm sorry, 30 seconds. Giving you a notice.
If the cap is removed, they can take more trash. And it's a moneymaker for them, right? And they don't have any other landfills in the state, and I addressed some of this in the letter to you. I would strongly recommend you look at coffinbuttefacts.org. And just as responsible public servants, I would also suggest that you ask for information from the other side, because there's a lot of information out there. There you go. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thanks for being here.
Again, that was, tell me again, the website, Coffin Butte.
coffinbuttefacts.org.
.org.
I think if you.
And I will
I didn't, it's on there.
point out that when you read it, it comes through pretty clear that people are frustrated, but the facts are the facts and they're worth reading. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks for making it down.
Yeah.
Thank you for your time.
All right, and then next up we have Mark Knudsen. And I think we have an exhibit that you provided here if you'd like to reference that. Same spiel, I don't think I need to repeat it. I trust you remember all the fun little rules. But whenever you're ready, we'll get started.
Well, I'm Mark Knudsen, and I own a few rentals here in town. Before I start, I would just like to say how awesome Philomath looks. Congratulations to everybody in this room, all the work that is, it fills us all with pride. So great job. I'm here to share the result of a study I did comparing water sewer rates. I started out the old-fashioned way because I thought, gee, the rates were high. This is before they were raised. This was planning on coming in here for about a year. So I started the old-fashioned way. I called some cities and started comparing it, and then my wife suggested we use AI. And boy, is it amazing. It's my first experience using AI, and you can just see it going through all these public documents, giving you reference, and it's like having an unlimited team of researchers. And so I didn't pick the cities. I just, you can see my prompt, and anybody can try the same thing to check and see if you get the same results. But I didn't pick the cities. I just said populations of 3 to 10,000, somewhat similar to us. You can see it determined a flow rate. And so I was amazed at AI, but almost as amazed at the results that were kicked out on this ranking, and also disappointed. I wouldn't be here if Philomath had appeared in the middle of this list, and this is something I created on Friday. And that would be great, because I really don't like moving here. It's not the most comfortable thing for me. But as you can see, it's not even close, and actually over double the lowest on the list. And so I would ask you, how can these other cities provide water and sewer for so much less? And I will tell you, they all have deferred maintenance. And using the excuse of deferred maintenance can give you an excuse each year to get bigger and bigger and bigger, because, well, this is a past mistake, we have deferred maintenance. Every one of those cities have deferred maintenance. I got to put on my glasses. So let's see here. On a different note, we're business owners, and we pass on the expenses onto our tenants. It really affects them more than it does us. And most of them don't have water meters, not just my tenants, but most tenants don't. And so they can't come and apply for some low income thing. So this really affects them. And you know, it affects me too, but it affects them even more because it gets passed on. So I would encourage the city to develop their rates based on two things, based on what's reasonable, rather than this is our list of needs, and now we're going to determine our rates based on those needs. But these are the ways that I would consider. First, I would consider what is a family living in an apartment with no
30 seconds.
exterior water. Oh my goodness, 3 minutes is rough. What's too much for them to pay? Or maybe we should shoot for being on the middle of the list. We don't want the ultimate sign of wealth to be a green lawn in the summer and below that point. I don't want to tell my tenants to stop showering or fill their water bottles. So we don't want Philomath to be an incredibly expensive place to live. And you can see with the property taxes and fees and bonds and levies, some of that is determined by the state, some of that is determined by the county, but some of that is just determined by the community of Philomath. And when you add these things together, it's hard to have a meaningful discussion on affordable housing when these are the underpinnings of your housing. You can't have affordable housing. And so, do we really want Philomath to be an incredibly expensive place to live comparatively? So I would like to see the city get these results out here. Please put in a prompt and it's effortless. In 2 minutes, you've got a team of researchers and see what results you get. You'll find you get the same results. And you can, this is good because you're not cherry picking and finding certain cities like Lebanon, for instance, have very high water sewer. I know that. And so you can compare Philomath to Lebanon. Oh, we're not so bad. But I encourage you to do the same thing. And I'd like to see people get these results on this and also the property taxes out to the people of Philomath. And then let's have a meaningful discussion on what's reasonable and have a reasonable base. And that's what I'd like to see us do. So thank you for listening to me. And I'm sure I forgot a lot. 3 minutes is really rough. It sure is really rough. I really recommend going 5 minutes. I've spoken with these things. I'm not a great speaker, but honestly, I sit and I practice. Those times when I actually have like 4 minutes or something like that, 5 minutes, it goes a lot better.
I know.
But this is really concerning. And I know I'm past my time, but I truly have empathy for low-income and middle-income people. And I see how hard it is to make it. I see them walk out of Winco and get shocked by the cost of groceries. And it's these kinds of monthly bills that squeeze them and make it so they can't. My wife and I are okay, so we're gonna be okay. So we're not the type of people that feel it. It's those middle-income people. So I think we owe it to the people of Philomath to be an average price city to live in. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And I'll note, I briefly mentioned this to Mark before the meeting, that we just sat here for an hour and a half and talked about our water and sewer rates before the
It
meeting.
kind of
So,
inspired me. I saw it and I know
Yes.
the Philomath Express and I thought, and I know how you, if you cherry pick results, I know how you can, and I haven't seen your results, but I know how you can make statistics provide your answer. That's why I did the AI thing and said it was
Sure.
3,000 to
Well,
15,000.
and I'm happy to follow up with you after our consultants compared us to Toledo, Newport, Corvallis, Junction City, and Sisters.
Yeah, and if you picked a certain, rather than just tell AI, pick cities from what did I say there? 3,000 to 10,000. Then you're not
Although
cherry picking certain cities so that you can tell everybody, hey, we're about in the middle, because we're not in the middle. We're not just high. If you look at that list,
all right, we should
we're not
probably
just, we're not just high. We're really, really, really high. I think
Thank you so
Thank
much.
you. Sorry to talk so long.
No, you said.
I'm a little passionate about it.
You're good, and I'll follow up with you because I think AI may have made a few mistakes on our.
I'm not saying they did. It's my first experience with
Sure,
AI.
sure, sure.
I put in the prompt and
Yeah.
let it do it. Yeah.
Perfect, thank you. All right, anyone else here for public comment?
Potential park board.
I know, yeah.
Yeah. Like, oh,
He's out.
Looking around, like.
Online.
Okay.
All right, we're almost to you, I promise. We have one more thing beforehand, which is our consent agenda, which has the minutes from August 11th and August 25th.
I move to approve the consent agenda.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved by Counselor Andrade, seconded by Counselor Nielsen to approve the consent agenda. Would all those in favor please raise your hand and say aye?
Aye.
Okay, that passes 6-0. And now,
Yay.
we're on to our advisory board appointments. What, do you want to come forward?
Would you like to come forward?
Okay. I just want the record to show, someone pitched a way to not limit it to 3 minutes. And, you know, it's whatever. Anyway, so yes, as a reminder, we had a resignation from the Park Advisory Board, or 2 resignations from the Park Advisory Board. We had 1 application who's here, but also a wonderful, very qualified application, not just the opening. Chelsea, do you want to add anything to that?
Yes, I just wanted to let everyone know that we did extend the opening. We talked about should we extend and get more applicants and bring them in together to do the 2 appointments. But Candy looks like an excellent applicant for the position. So we decided to just bring this application forward to you. And then we'll bring more back after the second round closes.
Okay, perfect. Any questions from the council?
I just, a general observation, I would highly recommend that we do the longer term. It just makes it easier for a consistency standpoint versus trying to do it just for 1 year to have it. Because that's one of the options here. Anyway, and on that note, unless somebody else has something to say, I move that the city council appoint Candy Garcia to the Park Advisory Board to a term expiring on December 31st, 2027.
I'll second it.
It's been moved by Counselor Salsa, seconded by Counselor Irwin to appoint Candy Garcia to the Park Advisory Board for a term expiring on December 31st, 2027. Is there any discussion on that motion? Counselor Nielsen?
Well, I can just really, if I'm allowed to, recommend Candy. She is just a wonderful community member. She's a wonderful neighbor. Her children, she's been an active part of our community for many, many, many years. And so I can wholeheartedly recommend her and say woo about her being part of the park.
And I will second that. I've known her for many years, but also we did Philomath Academy together. So her dedication to go and learn more about our community is
Yeah.
to be recognized.
We're finally up. Yes.
I'm just gonna say finally, waiting for an application come in from Candy for a while for any of our committees. So when I saw that she'd got in on this, I was, yes, finally. So I think even before we did Citizens Academy with Candy, I knew her before as a neighbor up on Glade, and I've seen her participation in the schools with her kids. And she's just great, very community minded. I think she's going to do great for us on the park board. But again, finally, glad to finally get an application from you. And yeah, I'm excited for hopefully a positive vote.
After all those comments.
I guess I'll just say thank you very much for applying and for wanting to serve. I know, as we sometimes see, it's not always fun being on public boards and committees and everything, but our community couldn't function without volunteers like you. So thank you so much. With that, would all those in favor please raise your hand and say aye? Aye. Congratulations. That motion passes 6-0. Welcome to the Park Advisory Board. Thank you for being here. You're welcome to stay, but you're also welcome to leave. All right, and then that brings us to our next item of new business, which is appointing a delegate or designating, I guess, appointing a delegate to be our voting member at the League of Oregon Cities. And as the agenda item discusses, usually that's the mayor, but unfortunately, I now have a conflict and will not be there. And I think Councillor Nielsen also will not be there. So normally when I can't do something, Councillor Nielsen does it, but the way the stars have aligned here, it's time for a real power struggle. No, not really. And I'll just say and anyone who's ever been to the, what's it called? The
Annual meeting.
Well, the voting, the membership meeting, thank you. Anyone who's ever been there, please chime in. It's not a big responsibility. Most of the things that make it to that are like, changing the charter. So instead of saying the president is a man, we say it's a man or a woman, or like saying like,
Person.
right, saying that like we can remove an officer if they punch someone, there's not a lot of really hot topics that go on at those meetings. So I don't want anyone to, freak out that this is going to be a lot of pressure.
I volunteer.
Okay, all right.
Yay. And there's an alternate meeting?
Yes, so what we need to do tonight is appoint a counselor as the voting delegate and then a counselor as the alternate, although hopefully we won't need that, but as we've seen, we might. An alternate to the alternate. So we have a volunteer. Is anyone else interested in either?
I would recommend Brett.
That's a little unfair.
Fair, right?
I just have one comment. I
Yes.
believe that the meeting is on Saturday. Is that correct? So just keep that in mind in case there
It's the
were,
very last.
anyone has to leave early, keep that in.
And it's usually a little sparse by then.
This is why
Yeah.
I.
Yeah, that's true. People are ready to get home. Okay.
That's true.
Yes. Okay. We have a volunteer for the delegate and a volunteer for the alternate. Anyone else interested? Anyone else chomping at the bit here? Okay, well, in that case, I move that the city council appoint Councillor Salsa as the voting delegate for the city of Philomath at the LOC annual membership meeting and Councillor Andrade as the alternate delegate should Councillor Salsa be unable to attend.
I'll second that.
Okay. It's pretty rich of us to be making a motion. Oh, sorry. This is the problem when we have work sessions before council meetings, and by the time we get to the council meeting, we're crunchy. But anyways, it's been all right. It's been moved by Mayor McMorrin, seconded by Councillor Nielsen to appoint Councillor Salsa as our delegate and Councillor Andrade as our alternate. Is there any discussion on that motion? Okay. Then would all those in favor please raise your hand and say aye? That motion passes 6-0. Okay. I hope you both feel the weight.
Thank you, though.
And then next up, we have an intergovernmental agreement between the city of Corvallis and the city of Philomath for janitorial services. I'll just do a quick overview and then I'll turn it over to Chris. But essentially, as Kiko mentioned, everyone in the county except North Albany pays into the library service district, which goes to Benton County, and then in turn, Benton County transfers all that money to the city of Corvallis, which operates the library service district. And then the individual cities and communities own the buildings. It's not the smoothest system ever devised, but recently Benton County just kind of accidentally discovered that they had a bunch of extra money for the library service district sitting somewhere that they forgot about. I'm glad Gabe's not here anymore. It is kind of what happened. So they transferred that to the city of Corvallis for the library service district, and then they didn't really need it because they weren't anticipating it. So they've decided to pay for janitorial services for all the buildings, regardless of whether they own them or not, but only for a period of 2 years. Is that right? Yeah.
Until we renegotiate.
Okay. But we already
Yeah.
clean the building, and we will continue to clean the building. We'll just now be getting a payment from the city of Corvallis to clean our building, which we wouldn't turn down. And then the only other thing that's a little weird about it, and Chris can expand on it if you have questions, is just Barry Elsner Hammond is our law firm and is also the city of Corvallis's law firm. So when we have to negotiate an intergovernmental agreement, it's a little weird because they're sitting on the same side of the table, basically. But we figured this was a pretty straightforward one and one that was very much in our interest. So we just had to waive our conflict of interest sort of clause in our contract with them to say it's fine for them to negotiate with themselves. Anything?
Yeah, nothing to add, other than this is one of those areas where it's been kind of weird. General maintenance typically is done by the tenant, not the building owner. So it's kind of been weird that we've always provided janitorial services because that's what got baked into the pie when it was first made. And so it is an area that we identified a year and a half, couple of years ago, and we are looking at new janitorial service on renegotiating that with Corvallis, Benton County, but because of the way it's structured, it's just funky, but it is something that we plan on renegotiating for a longer term. So you're glad to see this happen. It's kind of like the travel balloon. Let's see what this looks like when you pay for cleaning of the building that you're utilizing. And see how that goes. Maybe down the road, it's not even a city employee that's doing that. It's a Benton County or a city of Corvallis employee that's doing it. But again, for now, this is a little travel balloon, see how it works. Glad to have the help financially, and we'll probably look for some type of a different agreement before this expires in 2027. But let's see what's coming.
Okay, they're like three. They're going to go through the salsa first.
So, okay, well, I move the city council authorize the city manager to execute an intergovernmental agreement between the city of Corvallis and the city of Philomath for janitorial.
I'll second that. And then I feel like we may have some discussion on that motion.
I just had a question.
Oh, please.
Does this mean that we'll be seeing something like a budget, what's it called? Like a thing saying that the budget has been changed a little? An ordinance thing?
Probably not, because it'll be less. We'll need to, at the end of the year, you'll see something. End of the fiscal year, we'll see what the total amount is and
Like I know
an adjustment in revenue.
I know it's like not much compared to like what that fund is, what fund it is in, but also I was just curious how that might affect.
You'll see an adjustment, but it'll be one that Mike does at the very end of the fiscal year. It's the increase in.
I'm just curious, because I don't know. You said it was a city employee, there's already a person, does that person clean other buildings too? And so this will just cover a portion of their pay.
They're just subsidizing us to do what we already did.
Who's that person with?
John
Weber.
Yep.
It's great. He's our building maintenance employee.
Yeah, he's under Public Works.
Wonderful.
So Public Works employee that does our building maintenance and landscaping as well.
He empties the trash cans on Main Street. I've seen him there.
Yes.
So I do have another question. Looking long-term wise, with a big V, is the 24,451 a good estimate on the cost of cleaning that building? Because if we're gonna do long-term, we don't wanna have a jump in 3 years. Now we need $38,000 to.
Yeah, it reflects our current cost.
Okay.
So that's going to adjust each year.
Right.
And when we go to, when we go to a longer term contract, I don't know, like Corvallis pays for janitorial service. that county pays. I don't know what that will look like. They may hire the whole thing out altogether, so I don't know what that will look like.
I just want to make sure, just in case they decide to extend this, that we're covered.
No, our intents to have it cost the same or less, right? I mean, otherwise, we don't know what we're doing, so. But I do think there is really something, I was kind of tongue in cheek, but there really is something to, we're operating the building, and operating includes, we're taking care of our own garbage and janitorial services. If the roof needs redone, that's typically a tenant or a landlord that would take care of the roof, and so we can talk about a roof replacement as an example, HVAC repair. Typically, you don't look to the tenant to do that kind of thing. So I'm looking to update that agreement on the building use and who's doing what to have it be a little bit more reflective of a more traditional landlord-tenant type agreement. At the same time, we recognize there's a lot of added benefit to the community for having a library that we don't get from like a typical business, corporate arrangement. So,
And we do use
we do, yeah. So there's some caveats to the agreement, which is, I think, why it got written the way it did back when it did.
Sure.
And that was the agreement that's still in place, but I guess I would say it's caused a little bit of ripples in the past where you have employees of City of Corvallis giving direction to employees of City of Philomath on what needs cleaned and when it needs cleaned and what needs cleaned better and what's not good enough. And this creates a little riffle as opposed to all being handled under one agency, right? Or one city. So we'll see. This is great for now.
You'll take the free money. Any other questions or discussion on this? Seeing none, would all those in favor raise your hand and say aye?
Aye.
Aye. That motion passes 6-0. Okay. Good clip here. Now we have our, yes. I was gonna say pizza. Okay, so this, as a quick reminder, is just the one that we didn't pass at the last meeting since Councilor Crocker was unable to be here. So this is for the remaining folks, which are Councilors Caseman, Nielsen, and Salsa. So you guys can have your immediate compensation as well. And so for this one, Councilor Caseman is here, which works out just fine. Councilors Nielsen and Salsa would need to accuse themselves. The rest of us would need to declare a potential conflict of interest. And that the remaining ones would vote. So, any questions or discussion on this? Okay. Then I'll move to approve resolution 2520, adopting an official.
Mayor, if I could,
Please.
why don't you just ask for the
Before we
record
do
so it's
that?
clear?
Okay.
Ask if anybody would like to recuse
So let me
themselves.
do that before.
But do-
Okay, all right. Okay, sorry. Okay, you're right. It says that. Okay. Would anyone like to declare a real or potential, an actual or potential conflict of interest? Councilor Salsa.
Yes, I am recusing myself for having an actual conflict.
And I as well, so.
Okay. And I will declare a potential conflict of interest, but I am still able to vote.
What you said, but for me.
That work?
I will declare potential, but I am free to vote with a clear conscience.
I have a potential conflict of interest, but I'm comfortable voting.
Okay, thank you. Sorry, I got ahead of myself. I screwed this up last time too. I don't know.
It's a highly technical one.
Right.
Very unique.
On that note, I'll move to approve resolution 2520, adopting an official compensation package policy for certain City of Philomath public officials for the council positions currently held by Councilors Caseman, Nielsen, and Salsa.
And a second?
Okay, moved by Mayor McMorrin and seconded by Councilor Crocker to approve resolution 2520. Any discussion on the motion? None. Okay, seeing no discussion, would all those in favor please raise your hand and say aye? Aye. Motion passes 4-0.
Yes.
4-0. Okay, wonderful. Well, that's our last piece of like real business. Not that management report isn't. Uh, it's very real. There's just no. So, Chris or Chelsea, any highlights you want to walk us through on here?
I'm gonna go right to the bottom. Again, I'll assume everybody's kind of gone through this and I'll take questions. On the very last bullet point, found out last Friday from Levi with Mill Pond Crossing. He and his attorney are challenging DEQ's letter that they received and asking for a meeting to be able to discuss that. That was an option provided. If you were able to read through in the letter that they received from DEQ for violations. And so I don't know what that's going to look like. It's not really, I mean, the city's going to be copied, so we're aware, but we're not really a party to the enforcement or the challenge to the enforcement. And I've offered to be at that meeting to be a witness, but we're not really involved, I guess, at this point. So, but I just want to let you know there was a counter to that. I think I kind of, well, at least verbally have said, yeah, I don't know what they're going to do about it. Well, now I do know they're going to challenge it as of last Friday. So I don't know when that meeting's going to be, but I perceive it'll be within the next week or two and they'll move forward. But otherwise, happy to answer any questions on any administrative stuff. We'll note on the police side, a very successful event yesterday with the chili feed. Police was well represented. I think our community as a whole was very well represented. Laura Kita took People's Choice Award and they won the restaurant challenge. So again, great to see local restaurant winning the whole thing. Overall, just a fun event from what I've heard. First one that I've missed, I think, in a long time since it's come to Philomath for sure. But again, real positive things. They love the space. They love seeing it grow. I think they ended up with 21 teams, if I heard correctly. And I think they ate every bean that was in the place. So it's good. Chelsea, I'll kind of defer to you. Is there anything that jumped out at you?
Well, I did just want to note that we as a management team talked about trying to point out more when we're doing strategic plan priority items. So you'll see that we kind of underlined things and identified them. So hopefully everyone sees that as an asset when you're going through and tracking, and it will allow you to ask questions instead of not knowing that something is related to strategic plan.
I really appreciate it.
I do, it's
Selfishly, it helps us as well. Make sure that as a management team, we're staying
Yes.
focused on the focus. Yeah.
I'll just say on that note, I met with a city councilor from Corvallis who asked very good questions and a lot of questions specifically around our strategic planning process. And I felt like I kind of got to brag a little bit because I think we have a really solid sort of working situation now. And a lot of gratitude to our staff for helping us get there, as well as all of you all for kind of formulating that together. But it feels a lot better than it has in the past. It doesn't feel like we're just kind of throwing, not to be harsh, but it feels like we're focused. We all are on the same page. Our staff knows what to do. So just to say, I think that's not something that we should take for granted. It's an asset that we have right now. So.
I'm really excited for next year because it'll be we're moving. It'll be the second tier of like how do we do here and what are we gonna fill in for the things that we've accomplished. So
yeah,
and that was a big feature of this new method. So I'm excited about that.
One thing I'll add some comment on is the Philomath 2050. We feel like we're in a good spot with Ford family. We need to do a little more follow up with them. Time frame wise, we're kind of thinking give us through the end of the year to get the money in place, get a consultant on board, get some promotions going out and some advertising to the stakeholders, and doing kind of a first kickoff January of 2026 to have that first kickoff dinner / meeting / dinner, maybe larger than just come to a meeting, but actually have kind of a kickoff celebration type thing to invite people to. so we can really kick that event off come January, give us from now to the end of the year, get all organized, get it planned, get stuff ready. But that's looking very positive right now with support from Ford Family Foundation.
Nice.
Do you have any idea of what day that would be?
No idea yet. Do you have a day that you'd like it to be?
Yeah, of course.
January 1st
Yeah, no.
at 12:01.
I'll check with your schedule.
Only be home for 4 days in January. So, yeah.
Okay. Are you sure you want to spend one of those 4 days with us?
I don't expect you to work around.
Let me check with you after the meeting.
Oh, the
What?
Okay.
I'll follow up with you after. I'm always leery of people announcing when they're going to be gone.
true. That's what
So,
Oh, I meant February.
What is it? Crystal was making a face. What?
Security.
Related to that.
I got it.
yeah.
Finally.
Great. I don't know what's happening. Okay.
To all the burglars out there, I'm going to be gone this week. From really Saturday, nobody in my home.
You were pointing at the door. Security. Yes, good, yes.
So burglars stopped to guess which 4 days.
Yeah. All right.
Trying to.
Sorry, we're good. I just had a couple quick questions. Do you have any updates on the radar signs on the, I know you talked about the radar signs for the study, but we on the sort of permanent.
Yes, we got a price quote. We were super excited. It looked like something we could do within our budget this year. And then we went to ODOT to double check location. So they said, oh, we have a new standard for what things need to look like.
No way.
Tripled, quadrupled the price.
Was ODOT overcharging for things in a time when,
I don't know if their charge is just their standard for what that sign post and footing and everything has to be. Raise the price pretty dramatically. So we're looking, we, meaning Chief Gursky, is actively looking for some grant funding, see what we can do to help support that project. That's, I was mentioned somebody earlier, that's one of the, probably the one I'm maybe most concerned about getting done this year, just because the financial component's not there today. But we still got some time between now and next June to try to get some funding in for that one, so.
Cool.
Yeah.
Can we put them someplace less ODOT-y?
Yeah, there you go.
That's still from the 2 hour, like, over like, enough into not their road, right away. Yeah.
I do, I'm curious question, because I know a community member had asked about like, what people be coming in on that street or coming off of 13th Street or something. I mean, those are just county roads. Would that be cheaper to install them? I mean, I feel like we should still stick to our priorities, but like in the future, if we wanted to also add them on some of those county roads, would that be cheaper if we don't have to have the ODOT standards?
Yeah, as long as the county doesn't come up
I was
with.
gonna say, it's like the he doesn't they'll adopt ODOT's.
That we have some that are not ODOT approved, but that they're putting like on North 9th Street just to measure. And that temporary, maybe not permanent, but they are in use.
The permanent, we have permission to put the temporary ones up as well. But for permanent signs, they've got a standard that they want us to meet for their signs that are on the highway, so.
Seems like if our temporary ones aren't used.
They're not ticketing, no, they're just permanent display, so they want them to a certain safety standard. And I get it. I mean, to not totally bash ODOT, I get it. They're gonna be out there permanently. They want to be safe, they want to do whatever, but it does add to the cost.
It's the first time I've heard people not totally bashing that.
Yeah, that's true.
They're wearing me down.
Any other questions?
I do have, Chris, I had a chat with one of the residents of Mill Pond, who happens to be in Benton County government. who's kind of brought up that there's still no resolution, I guess, with either property line adjustment or like that's still stuck. Is there any sort of relief on that? I know we're,
Yeah, we've got the variance for the first lot. That was kind of the first domino. We're working our way south essentially and
Okay.
trying to get them done. So just bringing on the new planner, it's something I'm going to task her with. It's not something I tasked on her the first couple weeks she was here, but
gotcha.
I'm going to add that onto her task list and have her start
Okay.
working through those. Yeah. So
Thanks
it's
for that.
been on pause with the changing of planner.
Yeah, okay. I kind of figured that was the case, but thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome.
And
Oh, please.
if you can kind of go over the, like, what has been happening with the construction, that would be helpful, I think, for the people that.
Yeah. Trying to remember from last time. So there's still the bucket list that needs to go through phase 2B. What's left on that list primarily is the storm pipes, the 30-inch storm pipes. Those plans have been approved, resubmitted. Last I heard, all that needed to happen was he needed to apply for the street closure permit with Benton County to close Chapel Drive. I believe there's a 2 to 3 week period of time. We have to notify freight, everybody else that the road will be closed at some point in the future. And in order to do that, he had to update his erosion and sediment control permit for the site, which was going to take a little bit of time. I don't know the time frame on that, but I would say like soon. My expectation would be like within the next week or two, like that should be in place. He's also, and when that project gets done, there's the strategy for Mill Pond right now is to do that project and repave that section of Chapel Drive the same time that he's repaving 16th Street, rather than have the paver come out 2 times, especially for that small of a little project. So the paving of 16th Street is now waiting for the approval of the pipes on Chapel Drive. So that can happen simultaneously and save a little bit of money. So that's paving. That'll also trigger filling in the ditch back behind the homes on Timothy, between Timothy and Willow. That ditch can't be filled in per Public Works and our engineer until the pipes are patched, which makes sense. So again, kind of a domino effect. He has submitted his plans for phase 3 for all of the infrastructure. Those are under plan review right now. So in fact, our engineers already reviewed first review and sent those back to the developer's engineer for revisions and resubmittal. Once those plans get approved, then some financing is able to get released for Mill Pond with his private lenders, so that he's got some funding to take care of a lot of the stuff. We won't be holding a phase 3 pre-construction meeting until all of the phase 2 and 2B things are taken care of. As we've said from kind of day one, we won't be doing that construction in phase 3. Ideally, everything in phase 2 would be done and then he'd submit his plans and move forward, but there's just a little bit of overlap on getting those plans approved and back so that the funding can get released, so that he's got the funding to kind of take care of all the last few things on the punch list. There's a couple little other things there. The funding for the lot line adjustments, there is a planning process. New lot line adjustment applications have to be submitted and things. And I think what we'll end up having to do there is just have a pot of money get set aside into an escrow account that I've got access to. So it kind of takes Mill Pond Crossing out of the loop a little bit, and I can just work directly with those property owners on the planning side. It'll streamline it a little bit. It gets rid of a little bit of the sour taste that some of the property owners have with the developer, and it'll just be a little more, just more streamlined process if we can get that done. So, and my impression is that money's also going to come once plans are reviewed, and that money's able to be set aside in that escrow account. So, a little bit of escrow fees and stuff he'll need to pay, but it'll be an easier process for us to get those lot lines taken care of finally. So that's mostly where he's at. And then, of course, the issue with DEQ that's up in the air still and trying to get compliant with the current consent order. Get an updated consent order put in place and get as compliant as he can get with the phase 2B stuff before we roll into phase 3, because we don't want to have loose ends on phase 2B before we move on to the next phase.
Counselor Carr?
Am I the only, I thought in June, there was kind of, I will have this done before the end of this month. And that I was concerned about the beginning of school, and that's passed already, so I'm thinking that's how I'm remembering it. Is that how others remember? I mean, it's often,
Which is shocking.
well, it's frustrating. Yeah. But it is. I realize it's-
Yeah, and it's frustrating, I think is a fair feeling on that. I mean, I think a lot of people are frustrated. I don't know that I'm any less frustrated today than I was last month or 2 months ago or 3 months ago. Probably more frustrated. To be fair, I think Levi, if he was here, would tell you he's equally frustrated of the delays and the time, and he's waiting on an engineer, waiting on a review, waiting on an application. There's a lot of waiting. Some funding got held up from Business Oregon that he was relying on to come through, and they held it up because he was non-compliant with something else on a different loan. And, there's unforeseen circumstances that are within the purview of his control, but not necessarily always within his control on a day-to-day basis. So there is frustration all the way around. I do still get the sense from Mr. Miller that he is anxious and ready to go and would love to spend all of his time just building roads and houses and just developing, but there's all these other things that have to happen for it. Yeah, so it is frustrating. I agree.
Thank you. I have one.
Yes, please.
Thank you for including the article from Consumer Power Rural Light about our infamous Brad. Yes. Good article. Thank you so much. I know he's very humble and quiet about it, but it was a really good article. I hadn't read it before, and so it was very well done. And
I hear he never says no, so I think we should ask more stuff.
I'm gonna say publicly that GT says no more times than I want to think about, having had the or grumble. But also, one other thing I'd like to say is, I was on a walk a couple weeks ago, and we have a new neighbor that moved in, and being friendly, I stopped and was talking with her, and she and her husband decided to move to Philomath. They came from, I'm not remembering the exact state, but somewhere central. And coming to Oregon to visit last summer, drove through here and but we're not over. We're like, ugh. And then came back once the streetscape was done and rethought because they loved a lot of things about Philomath. And so they compared, I guess she said Sweet Home in Lebanon and a few other cities and also Toledo and Newport. And she goes, they really like this area. And then when they saw what was done with streetscapes and the way the environment, they spent a couple of days just here. And they said that was just definitely the decision was made to settle in Philomath. So yay. Good story.
Yep. Wonderful. Well, I think I just had one sort of quick question maybe for the council related to something here, which is that we will be reviewing applications for the Public Art Committee in October. We'll also need to appoint a member of the council to that. Well, I guess I will need to nominate someone for because you pick the resident members, but the mayor still has to appoint the council liaison. I want to, I'm, no. What I was gonna pitch with that is that unless if someone is really wanting it, I might appoint myself just at least for a year. Just because I was the chair of the former Public Art Committee before I was even on city council, so I have some vested interest in just kind of making sure the transition is smooth. About a lot. So I just wanted to say, but I also definitely don't want to take the opportunity away. So that was what I wanted to just check. If someone was really wanting to do it, let me know sometime between now and October 13th. But otherwise, I'll probably plan to do that. And then, next year or whatever, we can see about reevaluating as we reevaluate all the committee assignments. But okay. I know it's getting a little late. I just did want to offer a little bit of time for liaison updates, representative updates, if anyone has anything from your respective organizations that the council should know about.
Yeah, we didn't have anything for public works, and then police is
Not till,
Wednesday.
no, it's in October. We moved it because we had the meeting in August.
Oh, that's
but
right.
It's fine.
Okay, I do that.
I knew you did that. PCS has been extremely busy this summer, extremely. They've done so many things. They've got a great, it's a great purpose and organization. Their board, they're very, very busy because all of these tasks that are taken on, meeting at the farmer's market and doing all these things kind of falls on the board. So that's a little hard, I think, for them. I'm not technically on the board, so I don't always volunteer. I do volunteer sometimes. But they've got great things. We did hear that the Hughes is now up for sale, and they have great desire, but not the money. So
Thank you. Any other representative reports? I guess I'll say for the fire district, they just had their meeting today. Not a whole lot of policy updates to report. I think they've been busy. They've had a couple big wildfires recently, which you saw in the news. I think the sort of policy thing is they are still pretty seriously looking at doing replacing their bond with a levy in spring of 2026 on the ballot. So just keep an eye out for that. I think the intent is to keep that at more or less the same rate. It's not really a one-to-one since it's replacing a bond with a levy, but the intent is that, they don't want to raise people's taxes. They want to keep it the same, but just keep an eye out for that. And then I think I didn't go to the school board meeting last month, but the school update is that it's back. So yes, it's back, and they still don't want. Yeah, it's back, and they still don't want the pool. We'll talk about that later. But yes. Okay. Anything else for the good of the order? I think just a quick reminder. This is our only meeting this month for the full council because, again, both. Okay. Both. I shouldn't worry. Oh, yes. Just because both myself and Councilor Nielsen will be gone later in the month. So, and we also didn't have a ton of pressing stuff we need to get to later in the month. So we'll see you back October 13th for our next regular meeting. And the committees will be meeting in between, but yeah, thank you all for your work.
I might be sending out a poll about a August 3rd meeting instead of an August 10th meeting, but I gotta talk to my staff still.
October.
So October 3rd instead of October 10th.
It's October 13th.
we can't do October 3rd because we'll be up in Portland at the conference, right?
Yeah, that's
There's a lot of
common.
conflicts in October.
Let's do the 13th and the 5th, is that right?
No.
5th is a Sunday. The 6th is, 6th
The
is.
sixth.
Monday's the second Monday, because that Tuesday is Veterans Day, November. It's amazing. November,
November 3rd is the Monday. Yeah.
because
Thank
November
you.
11th is Veterans Day, which is a
Right.
day off, and it's kind of weird to pinch it right in
Okay.
between for staff.
With you now.
Giving you a lot of-
That's a great idea.
Third, November 10th, but I'll have Crystal put a little survey out, just make sure everybody's available. I don't want to
Sure.
Don't look over.
make it so somebody can. Okay. Plenty of notes for November. We might bump that up a week.
Okay, then I do think, well, after we adjourn, if everyone can go see Crystal, she has something we need to do. But, unless if there's anything else, going once, going twice,